Today I'm talking about how I became fluent in Russian. So it is about my personal story. But as always, I try to find the underlying principles so that I can help you to become fluent in Russian. Maybe at first I talk a little bit in Russian so that you know that I can actually speak. Вот, сейчас я говорю немного по-русски. Ну, о чем? Ты знаешь, эта ситуация, если другой человек говорит «Скажи что-то на этом языке», и потом ты не знаешь, о чем ты должен говорить. Но сейчас это не важно, потому что цель этого монолога это просто показывать. Я могу говорить по-русски. Ну, я думаю, мы можем продолжать с видео. So, actually it doesn't matter what I said, because I just said random things and I don't know what I said. But actually this is what I wanted, because I didn't want to prepare something and then just read a text or something that I learned by heart, because this wouldn't show you anything. This wouldn't mean that I can speak Russian. Okay, but now let's start with my journey. So before I came to Russia, I spent some time in Russia. Last year I did an exchange semester there. This was also the moment when I started to learn Russian. Start with the alphabet, because it's not difficult. You need 2-3 days and then you know it. And this is how I started. I didn't know how many letters are there, how difficult it is to learn and read and pronounce the letters. No, I just started. And this was my mindset. I had a low effective filter. So a filter means if you have some barrier that you always need to analyze everything and to ask questions. Why is it like that? What's the idea behind it? Why do we need now this grammar structure? A low effective filter means that you don't think actually about all these things, you just start. So I didn't know how difficult it is to learn Russian. I didn't know how complicated the grammar is. I didn't know how to start. I just said, I want to speak Russian, so let's go to Russia and then practice there. So this was my mindset. This is very important, having a low effective filter. Okay, then the second step, it was when I came to Russia, I started to do a lot of things. I mean, I signed up for a crash course, I signed up for a semester course. It was the A2 level. So I was actually a beginner. I only knew the alphabet and I don't know, maybe 5-10 words like привет and спасибо. But I already knew that I will improve faster than other people. So I want to challenge myself, start immediately with the A2 level. And I also tried from the beginning always to use the language. So this was the second thing I did. It was to challenge myself, to really seize the opportunity to be in this country and use and exploit all resources. So does it mean this is full immersion and it's easy then to learn a language because when you live in a country you just pick up the language? No, actually that's not true. I think you also know people, and I know people, who spend a lot of time in another country and they don't learn the language. Because you always have usually the opportunity to speak English or even in your native language. In my case, I had to speak English because I did an English speaking program. So all my courses, my projects and my classmates, everything was in English. So they speak English. So it was not so easy to get really immersed in this Russian environment. And honestly, if you don't understand anything and you think you can just be on the bus or be in a restaurant or walk through the city and just soak up the language, this is not how it works. I really tried to be active, to be engaging. So when I went to the restaurant, I only ordered in Russian. When I went to a shop or to a coffee shop, I ordered my coffee in Russian. I could have done it in English. They probably would have understood me, but I did it in Russian. In restaurants, I even told them when they asked me something in English, I told them, sorry, I don't speak English, of course, in Russian. And so that they had to speak Russian with me and I had to speak Russian with them. Sometimes this resulted in awkward moments, you know. I knew actually what they said, but I couldn't show it, so I had to react like, sorry, I don't understand, but I knew it because I knew English. So anyway, and this means be active, be engaged. This is smart immersion. But the best aspect of this smart immersion are conversations. I didn't know that. I just realized it when I was on dates with Russian girls. Yes, it helped me a lot. It increased my progress rapidly. My progress soared. So it was not only the date, or it was not the date itself, it was rather the conversation. And it was a high quality conversation. What does it mean? It's motivational. It's relevant. So I want really that she understands me and I want to understand what she is telling me. So I'm really engaged. It's not this passive immersion. You just listen to a song and you don't care. No, you really want to know what's going on. So a conversation was then actually my core element. So as I said, the conversation itself is already very, very helpful for your progress, but it also influences a lot of other things. For example, my self-study. I also studied at home because this is also important. I'm not the guy who just picks up the language besides doing other things. No, I also practice or learned at home, but then connecting it with the conversation. This was really a game changer. I was running around with a vocabulary book, a really small book, and always when I had a conversation and I didn't know this word or I thought this word is important for me, I asked the other person to write it down. And then the next day when I learned vocabulary at home, I practiced exactly, or I learned exactly these words because they are important for my daily life, for my personal life. So you don't need a list to find a list on the internet about the most 500 common words in Russian. No, you will create your own list. And then you can connect it to the emotions of the conversation. So actually at home then, when I learned the words, I mimicked everything and I repeated the conversation I had, or at least parts of it. So it was very easy to remember words. And I was more motivated to do grammar exercises. Because during the conversation, I realized, oh, maybe this one phrase would be helpful, this grammar phrase. Or maybe the genitive case is more important for me than another case. Now I had a strategy, and it was, a conversation is my foundation. Because it influences all other things like the self-study and my motivation, and it is also a good practice by itself. So I knew now that a conversation is my consistency. So when I haven't been on a date for a longer time, I told myself, Lukas, you should go on a coffee date because your progress slows down. So a conversation is the access to high quality input. And the last part of my journey to fluency is traveling. The last month I traveled across Russia by the Trans-Siberian train. And there actually I focused only on fluency because I neglected self-study. So with a low effective filter, I had a lot of conversations. I don't know if my language skills improved grammar-wise or vocabulary-wise, but for sure conversational-wise. So I didn't have to think too much about what to say next. I just produced sentences. So when it comes to priority, I would always say fluency before self-study. And with self-study, I mean this what you do not only at home, but for what you don't need another person. So like grammar or consciously learning vocabulary. You can do it with a teacher, of course, but for the fluency part, you need a conversation partner, you need another person. And this is always, I think, more important than the self-study part. At the end of my journey, I met a man at the airport in Vladivostok, and he was learning English with a book. And then I just joined him there and we started to talk, and I asked him how is it going, and he said it's so difficult, it's so hard to learn English. And then we talked and after 15 or 30 minutes then he left, and then I just thought, wow, I just had a normal conversation in Russian.